All right, so I'm gonna see if this thing will go live.
Love it.
Okay, so I believe we are live. Praise God. Welcome to everyone who's joining us for our Young Couples event here at St. Augustine. Well, not at St. Augustine, but hosted by St. Augustine. We are so grateful for just the opportunity to come on live and to draw together as a community to talk about the importance of marriage and that being a beautiful vocation in the church. So welcome everyone. My name is Michelle Lopez and I'll kind of be one of our hosts. We also have with us an amazing two couples. So I believe we are live. Praise God. Oops. Welcome to everyone who's joining. There you go. Sorry about that. Okay, we are live. Sure. That was awesome. Okay, but I already introduced myself. So my name is Michelle. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Evan. This is my wife, Maria. We've been married for almost a year, coming on October. And we're actually expecting a baby, little baby girl, September 28th, somewhere in there. So we're super excited for that and super excited to be part of this young adult couples group at St. Augustine. And we can't wait to get started with tonight's discussion and learn more. So.
Praise the Lord. I didn't know you were expecting. That's exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you.
My name's Paul. It's my wife, Anna. We've been married 9 years, almost 9 years. And we have 4 kids. We served in Haiti as a missionary family for 6 years with all 4 of our kids at some point in time. They weren't born there, but we had them in America and then brought them there each time. But and we came back a little over 2 years ago.
A little less than 2 years.
A little less than 2 years ago. We came back to America, where we continue to serve with Life Team, helping lead missions. I serve as the director of missions for Life Team.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Then I guess I'll go ahead and start us off in an opening prayer. Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dear Lord, thank you for today and all the wonderful blessings that you've bestowed upon us. Lord, we ask you to be in this meeting tonight, be in our speakers' hearts, speak through them, Lord, through Paul and Anna, and allow them to convey the message that you wish for us to speak, oh Lord. Praise you, Lord, now and forever. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right, well, welcome again, everyone. We're glad to have you. And tonight we're going to be hearing from Paul and Anna, kind of their witness to the vocation of marriage, how God has worked in their life, especially in the areas of allowing their marriage to be a source of healing for each one of them individually and for their family, as well as the call of mission. Because as we know, marriage is not just about 2 people, but it's a mission that God gives to those 2 people to bring about his message, his love to the world, not only through the family, but through a particular way in which they serve the church and the world around them. So we're so good and grateful for them to say yes, to be so willing to share their story with us. So they have a lot to share. And I just want to mention too, if you're watching live on Facebook, feel free to make comments or ask questions. And we'll be going through the stream and the chat there. So along the way, if you do have particular questions for our couple, we'd love to hear from you. All right, so I think Maria's going to start us off with a few questions for our guest. So I'm pumped, I'm excited, let's go.
Yes, so, as every love story, every couple story, there's always something to admire and whatnot. So if you can you just share a little bit of how you met and how, I don't know if you should also talk about like how you discerned the vocation or maybe just like how they met. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. I'm sure that'll be part of the conversation.
Yeah, so. maybe a mix of those.
What's the juicy stuff? That's what she's asking. We want the juicy story.
Oh man, it's funny. Every time we tell the story, obviously I have a version, and Anna's version. Kind
That's
of looks like mine. But she says her version is the real version, and I don't argue that. But so at 16, I moved to out of Boston and into the town where Anna was her whole life, and started going to the parish there. And we had a beautiful youth ministry program. And Anna's role, right, is a youth mass. And Anna's role, she often did collection. So she would go around with the basket, pew after pew. And I literally remember being a 16-year-old.
Maria's going to start us off with
I remember being a 16-year-old, broke as could be, and not really having money, and going to my dad and saying, whenever Anna was doing collection, hey, Dad, can I get an extra $5 just to put in the basket to try to pretend like I had money? So literally at 16 years old, I remember seeing Anna at Mass and going, man, that girl looks good. Never said a word to her, right? Graduated high school, went off to college, moved back to Boston, and then joined the core team at my parish. And all this, right? What are we? I'm 23 at this time. So from 16 to 23, had not said a single word. But then the earthquake in Haiti happened, and you can continue.
Okay. I was organizing a fundraiser for Haiti, and shortly before the earthquake in Haiti, he got announced as a core member at our parish, and I had been one previously at that parish and then moved to a different parish. But I happened to go to the mass where they announced him at my old parish. So I'm like, oh, now this guy finally has a name after 7-8 years of going to the same mass. So I looked him up on Facebook and added him as a friend. I messaged him and I said, I'm so glad you're getting involved with Life Teen. It's like so good to see that you're getting involved. And he didn't answer me. And he says that he did, but I went and I looked and there's no reply.
Oh, what the heck? Oh my gosh.
I mean, this is in my defense, right? I was 23, real immature at this time. I was kind of sort of serious about my faith, but not really. And I had all these expectations of what a girlfriend, then fiance, then wife should be. And there was one thing on Anna's profile picture I remember on Facebook, with a picture of her and her niece. And I thought it was her kid. And then, so literally, I was like, oh man, I don't want no baby mama, baby daddy drama. Like, I don't know if I want to go there. That's where my immature mind was at that time. Later on, obviously, I found out it was her niece. But if I didn't answer, which I think I did, but if I didn't answer, that's my excuse.
So broke it.
The earthquake happened, and then his profile picture changed to a popular image of the Haitian flag on someone's face, and there's tears coming down the flag. And so I was like, oh, he must be Haitian, or maybe, like, I wondered if he was Haitian. So I messaged him again and asked him, like, if he's been affected by the earthquake, does he have family? We started chatting about Haiti. I told him the fundraiser I was doing and asked him if he'd be willing to have someone make Haitian food for this event where we were going to be auctioning items and raising money. And so he agreed. So our first time meeting was him bringing the food to the event for me at the fundraiser. He brought in trays of Haitian food. And so we say hi, and Paul's like, here's the food. Sorry, I gotta go.
Wow.
The parish had passed away, and Paul wanted to be there to console some of the teens who were close to that priest. So I was like, okay, this is a really good excuse for leaving. So I was just like, okay, thanks for the food. And then I went and sat at my table at the event. My mom said, who was that guy? And I was like, the guy I'm gonna marry. And she was like, who is he? Do you even know him? I was like, I know his name is Paul and he goes to our church. And that's all I know.
And,
That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
yeah, pretty great. And then
Well, you're lucky God was like moving things around for you.
yes,
Yeah,
the Lord was flirting for me. Like I had no chance. But I went home that day, and after the event with the teens, and I literally went home to my mom, and there's this Haitian word that's tutuel, which means dove. And I went home to my mom, and I go, Mom, I found a little tutuel, and this is it. That's just an expression that Haitians use for like real pretty women. They call them tutwells because they're like pretty and delicate. And anyways, but
But
so
you had not talked to her except for the here's the food.
except for that fundraiser. We had text. I guess we had a message.
We were messaging about Haiti and the
Yeah.
fundraiser. I didn't learn much about you in those
Yeah.
conversations.
But so yeah.
But I think that we are both very stubborn people, and I don't think it would have worked if God didn't make it extremely obvious for us. Like, it was just so obvious, there was no denying that something was happening. I had never even had a boyfriend before, and I was 24 because I had a lot of trust issues, and it was very difficult for me to trust anyone that they had good intentions completely. So I never gave anyone a chance, even people that tried. And this time it was like I forgot about that and it wasn't there. It was like a wall was down and I was able to give Paul a chance, and I wouldn't have given him a chance probably before then.
Wow. Praise the Lord.
That is awesome. So after you guys started dating, what would you say? Because you mentioned like having some ideas of like what a girlfriend, what a wife should be, like, did you guys find like in your dating that you had to kind of rediscover together the church's vision of marriage and like what that could look like? And what were some of those conversations or things that you guys kind of discovered?
Yeah, it's funny. So I had come. This is embarrassing because my parents are on the call right now. But anyways, sorry, mom and dad. I had come into this relationship from past relationships which weren't holy at all. They were not pure. They weren't about the Lord whatsoever. So God had begun a process in my heart of like, no, this is what a chaste, holy relationship should look like. And so I came into this relationship trying to date, previously dating other girls who I guess at the beginning of my conversion, realizing, okay, like I have to be in chaste, holy relationships. And these girls that I was dating, they just weren't about that. And literally relationship after relationship, I had to end it. And at one point, I was like, I've put myself on a dating fast. I was just like, I'm done. I give up. There's no hope. There's no girl who wants to not have sex before marriage. Like that's literally what I thought. And I came into the relationship with that mindset. And I literally our first argument though, remember this was a process. The Lord was trying to get me there. I remember, but our first legitimate argument was about contraception. And I remember talking about it and saying like, I don't know how it came up, but some we were having some discussion of like not using contraception if we were to ever get married. And I literally went, "What are you crazy? I'm not having 20 kids. Like we gotta use contraception." That was my take, and that was a real long conversation that went across for several days before again the Lord brought me to a place of conversion with that. So yeah, it was challenging, but slowly and surely through the relationship, there was a lot that the Lord was showing me personally.
What was the question again?
Yeah, for you, Anna, like the vision of marriage that the church has different than what you maybe grew up with or your own experiences of what you thought marriage would be like. So what was that like for you and just your?
Yeah, well, I grew up surrounded by no one that I think was living out the sacrament of marriage. So the idea, I was catechized and learned about it by going to youth group. So I thought it sounded great, but I never saw it before my eyes. So I had no idea what it would look like or be like. But as I got to know Paul, which we were getting to know each other very quickly, I could tell that his intentions were good, that he was looking for the same thing I was looking for. And that like, if this was ever going to be a possibility for me to enter the sacrament of marriage, this is probably going to be the person that like intends to enter it the same way I think it is.
Wow. That's amazing.
And so are you guys, you're not both cradle Catholics though, right? Like you didn't grow up in the Catholic faith your whole life, or how about your like faith story? I mean,
we're both from Boston, and for people that have been in Boston for many years, from my family, most people just get their sacraments. So my family had me and my sister get our sacraments, but we didn't go to mass on a regular basis. We went for holidays and funerals.
Yeah, and for me, I am a cradle Catholic. My family was very involved in the charismatic renewal and helping open prayer groups in our diocese, and weekly prayer meetings in my house was a regular thing. You walk in with your friends, and there's like 20 of my mom's closest friends like speaking in tongues in the living room.
Oh, wow.
That's so amazing.
That was my upbringing. But at some point around my junior, senior year, and then first year in college, lots of questioning began to happen, and I began to, especially my first year in college, it was like, whoo, freedom. I was down in Florida in Daytona,
Oh,
and just completely turned away from the Lord. I say completely. I definitely wasn't living a life. Wasn't taking the sacrament seriously, but I did go to mass every single Sunday. But that's a whole other story. But so I was going to mass, but wasn't really taking my faith.
yeah. Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay, and so now that
What would be that kind of
You are breaking up, Michelle.
yes, you're breaking up a little.
Oh, then keep going. Keep going. Where you were going. Go for it.
I was going to ask you next. So how has marriage being a tool of sanctification for you guys and for healing as well?
Yeah, I think for me, literally, God is molding. He's breaking down my selfishness each and every day, and then through marriage, right? Because it's community, and it's a very intense community. It's community where the person's there, you're with them for a huge chunk of the day. You're sleeping next to them. You're waking up next to them. You're having meals with them. It's a community that you can't just be like, all right, I'm going to walk away. I'm going to take a vacation from you. It's not really an option. So really just teaching me how to stop being selfish, which is a huge work in progress. I'm nowhere near where I need to be, but better than when I first started, at least I think. You can ask Anna. But so, and then, yeah, it just also just teaching me how to serve, right? How to serve my wife, how to serve my kids. So yeah, I think that's dying to self and service. I would say is for me the two biggest things.
I think I would add that, like, I want to go to heaven. That's my goal in life. And I think that your vocation prepares you like for that more than anything else could. Your spouse is your saint maker when you are complete opposites. Like,
Ooh, amen.
I might think I have this great idea and have all good intentions and I'm prayerful, whatever, all these things about myself I might think, and then he might disagree about something that I thought that I was sure about, and then you have to figure out a way to accommodate both people, and then when you have kids, you have to work that in too. But it helps you be holier because you don't just get to do what you want all the time and spend your day how you want. You have to put someone else in mind, and that's like the best opportunity for dying to self if you're living with someone and you're together all the time.
Yeah, and then like one of my top two love languages, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but is right, I like physical touch, number one, and then but I guess this other one's not really a love language, but I'm an extrovert, so I constantly want to be with people and lots of people. The more, the merrier. Anna, her top love language is literally quality time, and she's an introvert. So it's like, I like to spend time, but with me. And I'm like, yeah, we can spend time, but we can have 20 other people. We'll just make sure we're sitting next to each other. Like we'll hold hands or something. And right, so it's just again, just learning that as well. It's like, okay, I need to sacrifice and not only do what I want all the time, but for the sake of my wife to put that aside and spend that quality time with her.
For sure. And so how do you guys, when you both, let's say, because you said like you're different in the sense that you're more extroverted and she's more introverted, when you guys both, like, let's say, are equally against something, right? Like she really does not want to, I don't know, go to a certain event, but she really wants to. How do you guys kind of compromise through those situations?
Her answer that.
Love it.
I think we probably like have taken turns without saying it out loud, just thinking about what the other one might want. Because sometimes I've gone to things I don't want to go to, you know, and I think that Paul has stayed home times he hasn't wanted to. We don't say like out loud, I'm doing this because of you. It just happens that way, that we're like thinking of the other.
That's a beautiful way of compromising, because so it's funny you say that. So I'm the extrovert and he's more of the introvert. So he's just basically asking advice. We were just basically for advice.
Just for someone out there that might need, you know.
Of course,
I think
absolutely.
that when you're dying to self, I think that there's also a line for like taking care of yourself. We do have to take care of ourselves and our needs. And if we're never expressing our needs and trying to communicate about them, then you are gonna always do what the other person wants. If I don't know, but if you express your needs and the other person knows what you actually want, then they're gonna try to make them happen if they love you.
Very
No,
true.
absolutely. And I can only imagine how much you die to yourself once you start having kids, especially 4 kids.
Yeah.
That's like, and I also come from a big family, so I'm one of 6,
Yeah.
and yeah, I feel like my parents like became more and more closer to being saints after each kid they had, and now they're definitely saints.
Yeah, and that's been a whole other opportunity to die to self, because even there's things we both want to go to, but if the event ends at midnight, we're gonna have 4 crying kids. So it's like, for the sake of the person that we're taking care of, like we're gonna both die to self and not go to this event. And sometimes we might make an exception, but normally we realize that we do have to miss a lot of things because of the best interest of our kids.
Yeah, I think it's also knowing about what that in sacrificing, you have to know what your spouse, like what are the things that they like, that would be a huge gift for them. Again, because Anna's an introvert, usually I would never come home and say, hey Anna, there's gonna be 50 people at this community, you should go. And sometimes she wants to do that, but I'm more likely to come in and say, hey babe, man, you go ahead and go take a walk with one of our friends that we live in community here with, and that's like that again, because quality time, right? That's her thing. It's one person. She's taking a walk, what she wants to do. She's out the house away from the kids after she's been with them for 12 hours, and it's just a gift. Her greatest gift to me is, hey man, there's a prayer meeting tonight. I would love to go, or for her to be like, hey, there's a prayer meeting. You should just go. I'm like, oh my gosh, you love me. You know my heart. Seriously, that's literally one of the best gifts you can offer. Hey, there's a prayer meeting. You should go. I'm just like, oh, praise the Lord for that. So you have to know that person, and then know how to sacrifice.
Absolutely, 100%.
And I think when you're like taking care of others and putting them first, God takes care of you. Like in those moments where I'm like, why don't you go to this prayer meeting? Once I'm alone and the kids are asleep, I'm like, oh wow, I really needed some alone time. This is great. I'm glad I told him to go.
That's so funny. When you guys were mentioning that, it sounds like both of you have grown, especially in the area of like recognizing that selfishness is just part of what we bring into marriage, and that part of the sanctification that happens in marriage is that we become more selfless. So I was wondering if you guys can give some particular examples of maybe like how did the Lord like reveal to you that this was an area that you needed to grow in to love your spouse better? Any examples you can give, some concrete ways that kind of was brought to your attention, and then how did the Lord begin to heal that, and what does that look like?
I think practically speaking, anytime we're like butting heads, or I know we don't see eye to eye on something, or just annoying each other like daily for a while. It's like, if I'm trying to do all these things, good things to make it change, and it doesn't change, then I'm like, oh, I really should be praying about this and what's going on here. Like, am I doing something wrong? Is there something about me that I have to change? Or do I just need to be patient with him, waiting for him to change because something's off here? I think like the uncomfortable, difficult times, make you realize there's something more that you have to look at. I don't know if that really answers the question. Jan.
Yeah, I mean, I go off the same thing. I read this real hard, bad book. It was a Christian book, but it was just written poorly. But there was 2 paragraphs in it that was written real well, or at least that spoke to me. And it's like one of those books where it's like one for the husband, one for the wife type thing. And the wife was writing 2 husbands, and one of the things she said and encouraged was like, are you frustrated with your wife? Have you and your wife been arguing? Have you felt like your wife has been being mean to you or whatnot? And she's like, how many times have you taken some of these feelings and emotions or these things that you're experiencing and specifically pray for those? And my invitation was, if it's pray for those and pray for your wife and those things. Like my wife really, a big thing growing up for me, you weren't allowed to say shut up in the house. It was a swear. In Anna's house, it was perfectly okay to say shut up. So like when we first got married, like anytime if Anna would say shut up, even jokingly, I was like, oh my, she doesn't respect me, man. We're gonna end up getting a divorce. What is this? Like it was just so serious for me, right? And literally just praying for that, like, Lord, like just get her to stop saying shut up, and praying for her, like truly believing that the Lord did get her to stop saying it, but in praying for her as well, there was her own conversion even in my own heart, and like, man, she's not mad at me in saying that. It's just something that she says, and it's not really that big of a deal. So in praying for her to change, quote unquote, like really the Lord just changed my own heart, I would say. And then another thing, you have to bring other people into your marriage. A lot of other couples to speak into it. I think that's one way that we grew healed is like, all right, if we're having a problem, we're not the first to have this problem. Someone else has had it, and we need to find couples who are a couple seasons above you. But I think we also need to find couples like you guys, right, who are just married, super excited, still on the honeymoon phase, and just like, well, there's joy just radiating from them. Also to speak into our lives, to remind us how good it was the day of our wedding, but also other couples to give us the experience of like, this is how you navigate this.
Yeah,
Very true.
that's funny that you mentioned the shut up thing, because I'm the same exact way. Like growing up in my house, we were not allowed to say shut up, whereas that was totally okay.
It's a joke. It's like, you say something like, instead of saying no way, it was like, shut up. And
it was just like, it was like a trigger point for me. I was like, shut up. What do you mean? I'm not cussing at you. Why are you escalating this,
And I was like, no, even last night, things that you grew up with saying or, doing that you don't think much of, but totally triggers the other person. So even last night we had an argument about something that I said, same thing. And I was like, it's not a big deal. It's don't take it to person. It's really not a big. Anyway, so
yeah, but that's part of the dying to self. Learning how to like cope with the others' emotions and how they perceive certain things, and kind of working on like how to better perceive or how to better speak to the other person, so you're not going to, offend them or hurt them in any way.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you pray for one another, and that you also bring couples into your life as a way of learning. What other ways have you found, like what other things do you practice or do to help each other, get into heaven, into that sanctification process? That was a long question.
Yeah, definitely challenging each other, which I think is the hardest for couples, right? Even part of my job sometimes after I like write blogs, whatever, record videos, whatever, maybe just part of our ministry, not even really my job. But I'll like write something or record, or and I'm a horrible speller. When I write, I just write, and I go, babe, can you edit this? There's no periods, commas, I don't capitalize anything. I just don't want to stop so I don't lose my train of thought. And I'm like, babe, can you edit this? And she'll comment like crazy. On, you should really say this, you should say that. You should say, I'm like, I just asked you to edit it. I'm not asking you to write it for me. But then literally, like, I sit with her for 30 minutes. I'm like, you were actually right. That would probably be received a lot better if I said this instead of that. So be comfortable to challenge each other when challenging, giving advice, challenging when the person's just not being holy. like there are times where I get lazy and then I do go a couple of days without doing a holy hour, taking time to pray, right? And then or I just get busy and I go a while not taking time to pray. And my wife's going, "Yeah, when was the last time you prayed?" I'm like, "Man, I pray. What do you mean? Everything I do is a prayer. I pray all the time. Pray as I'm taking care of kids and bathing them. Like, get off my back." But again, right? It's important to do things like that. And again, eventually, right? It's hard because it's coming from the person I love the most. But then at the end of the day, I know this is the person I love the most. So it's coming from a place of love. Sometimes it's the end of the day. Sometimes it's 3 days later when I'm finally over it. But I eventually get over it.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. And then I guess I'm really curious to know kind of how you guys got into mission because, going from, the States to live in Haiti, that's pretty crazy. So if you could just kind of like, and I'm sure that there was plenty of dying to self with that decision and being over there. So if you can kind of like elaborate on like how you guys started that and, outside of your story, that'd be great.
When we met, I had been going on mission trips regularly, and I shared that with him that it was something I was really passionate about, something I intended on doing forever. And his response was basically, I would never do that. And inside, I was like so crushed. I don't know how, but I was able to not say anything like condescending or judgmental. Inside, it was just like, that sucks, but maybe he'll change. I don't know. So I just kept praying that something would change that would make him want to do it. He was comfortable ministering how he was and didn't see why God would be asking him to do anything different. But within months of dating, we met someone who had gone on a mission to Haiti and was inviting us to go on a mission to Haiti. And
Whoa, hold up. He was invited me to go on a mission.
Yes, he was inviting Paul, and I was standing there.
And she
And Paul
invited
said-
herself.
Paul said, "Sure, I would love to go," and I was like, "What?" Again, I just sat there happy that he actually wanted to go, and I was like, "I want to go too." So we ended up going on that mission to Haiti, and it was just a week-long trip. We had gotten engaged a couple days before that trip.
Oh, wow.
And while we were there, one of the nights we were sleep. There was a room for men and a room for women for sleeping, and we were both separately in our rooms at night. And we were both praying. Didn't know the other was praying, and I couldn't get my words together. And I just wrote one sentence in my journal. I wrote, "I want to start a mission in Haiti." And the next morning, the guy who took us on that trip, he was like, "You guys should really just get married quickly and become missionaries right away and go to Haiti." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Well, last night in my journal, I wrote and I shared," and Paul was like, "Last night I was praying and really felt like God wants me to start a mission in Haiti." And so the guy was like, "Yeah, I think you guys need to act on this then." So we got home from that trip and contacted Life Teen Missions director at the time. And he let us know that there was not actually a mission base for Life Teen in Haiti, but that if we wanted to become missionaries with Life Teen by moving to Georgia, where we are right now, we could discern it during that year of formation as missionaries, but that it wasn't guaranteed because they didn't actually have a mission there. And within a few months of the mission year, we went on a trip to Haiti during that year, and we shared with people in Haiti that we wanted to start a mission. And when we got back from that trip, we were invited by the bishop to come immediately to start a mission.
Wow.
The power
That's
of
pretty
prayer. That's just an answer prayer right there.
Yeah, no, to convince your spouse at the time or have the Lord, stir the pot and,
Yeah, it took a lot of trust. And when the mission director had said he couldn't guarantee it, I was at a point where I was like, I'm going on mission trips. I'm serving in my parish. I love my job. Everything seems right in my life. I don't want to move there and give all this up if we're not going to Haiti. And Paul was like, I really think we're going to Haiti. Just trust me and let's just do it. And I was like, okay, I'm trusting you. I hope that you're right.
That's awesome. So being in Haiti for that long, what would be some of the like blessings and also challenges that you encountered being newlyweds and kind of being in a radical place of mission?
Man, one of the biggest gifts, right? Haiti was, I think, to date, for me personally, ministry-wise, and maybe even professionally, I think it's one of the hardest things that I've done. It was hard, and I think every missionary that lived there would say that it was hard as well. But living in community with the singles, one thing that was beautiful is that I saw how hard it was for them, and not that it wasn't hard for us, but we had each other, right? We were able to go through that suffering together. So we learned real fast how to suffer together, how to discern things together as a couple, and also how to use our marriage as a conduit of God's grace for even for others, right? To just bring others in, right? Because even the single missionaries that were at times suffering, and one of the biggest things was loneliness. I feel lonely, like I miss my family. So just being able to invite them into our 12 by 12 house / bedroom / living room, however big it was, like you just be able to invite them into there. Literally, we're sitting there shoulder to shoulder because it's so small. But it was just it was beautiful to be able to do that. So the Lord truly taught us what the domestic church means during our time in Haiti. And what does it mean as a married couple to be at domestic church in the home, but also to the rest of our community and to the world as well.
It was a very unique opportunity. Obviously, it's not something that a lot of people do, especially bringing a newborn. Like we just had our first baby when we moved there, but it was such a beautiful opportunity because if we were living here, I'd be like, okay, I'm napping the baby, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Only one of us can go out. And the way that we lived in Haiti was in a community, but your houses are close together. Our first few years there, we were shared, like the other side of our wall was the girl missionary's bedroom. So like anyone in the whole property could hear the baby if he was crying. So if I put the baby for a nap, I can go do ministry and somebody will come get me if the baby's crying. So like the way that our life looked enabled me to do the same ministry that Paul was doing. And there weren't a lot of times where either one of us had to stay back because of the baby. We just brought him to do whatever we were doing. Once we added more kids, it got trickier because different ages, different naps, all of that. But there was still, our whole time, there was still freedom for me to be involved in a way that I couldn't be here because like the way that we live is just in houses that are far apart from each other, and you don't bring your kids and your wife to work. But we were both Life Team missionaries when we served in Haiti.
Yeah, that's something else. And I bet like you must have really just surrendered it all to the Lord, because like raising a family over there, it's not like over here where you have direct access to like diapers and baby food and all the things, all luxuries, I guess you could say, we have over here in the States. And so to kind of like surrender all that for basically a much more like naturalistic way, like, have your kids surrounded in nature must have been, a bit of a challenge at first, and definitely a lot of just surrendering and trusting in the Lord.
It took getting used to, but over and over, God kept showing us how he was protecting and providing for us. Like we lived on a cliff. There was no fence, and we had a toddler learning to walk on a cliff. Nothing ever happened. And like, it wasn't like I could run around that day being like, oh, no. I just was like, I was watching him, but God kept us calm about things that other people might not have been calm about, but it wasn't like us to be calm either. Like people would say, aren't you afraid of different illnesses and disease? We got different illnesses, and like, it was just part of our life. We just adapted to the way of life, but also trusted that God was gonna figure out all the difficult things if we followed the call that he had.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, like one thing I learned in Haiti, right? Growing up Haitian household, it was just it was kind of been drilled into me like, you're the man. The man works their butt off and provides for the family. Even though both of my parents worked full time, sometimes having 2 jobs, but for some reason it was drilled into me like, you're the man, you work. And I learned in Haiti real fast. Number one, right, because we fundraised as missionaries. So I learned real fast no matter how many hours I put into this mission, I'm not going to get paid more, right? There's no overtime. There's no time and a half. And that was hard. How hard I worked did not control how much money came in. I guess how much I begged and asked to control how much money came in. But I also, right, but because Anna was like right alongside me, we were in this together. Like we were also both doing it. So like you said, just trusting in the Lord, trusting that He'll provide through diapers often was like us seeing God's provision. And I realized and I learned this was hard for me to even accept for the longest time. It took other couples to say it to me for me to actually believe it. Right, as a man, you're told you're the provider. You provide for your family, and there's some truth in that. But really, God is the provider. God provides. I'm the recipient of His provision, and I take what it is that He provides as husband and as father, and I distribute that with my family. I share that with my family. I bring that in, and that's a big thing I learned even with fundraising. Right, it's not, hey, I'm not going out. I'm gonna work real hard to get the money. I'm gonna ask, and usually if we went on a fundraising trip, I was the one asking. But that money would come in, and I'd be like, all right, baby, this is what we got. So yeah, learning that God is a provider. He works with me and through me in order to, so it allows me to be the recipient of what it is that He's providing, and sharing that with my family as well.
Some other reasons that it was hard is that culturally, like for a marriage, I think a couple needs alone time, whether extrovert, introvert, a couple needs alone time. You need time that you pray together and pray separately as individuals. Like there's a lot of needs that you have to make a marriage be a good marriage. And it felt like we were always fighting against that because the town that we moved to, when we moved there was only one couple in the whole town that was married. And so the way that we lived out our marriage was foreign to everyone, American and Haitian, because none of the Americans were married. And they were all single, but there was no one doing the same thing that we were doing. And so we had to fight to make it work and to keep our marriage important. But we also were like, when it would get really hard, I would be like, I'm offering this up for the people that hopefully are benefiting from the witness of seeing two people try to live out the sacrament of marriage. And I never felt like it was paying off, honestly. And then since we moved back from Haiti, we've heard from people who've gotten married how much it meant to them to see us be married together.
That's a powerful witness. That is awesome. And what would you share, because we live in a culture that says like, oh, well, marriage is whatever I want it to be. What would be some of the things that you've experienced of living out a sacramental marriage that makes your marriage different than like the world's understanding of marriage? Like why get married in the church? Why have a sacramental marriage? What's the difference?
Right. I think, I guess talking to Catholics, and really everybody, teach a moment, but right, sacraments give grace, and we receive grace from the sacraments. And yeah, marriage is way too hard. Number one, to do it without the Lord, and to do it without His grace. It's like, obviously, like I'm Haitian and Irish and Portuguese, completely two different cultures. Grew up speaking two different languages for the most part. I spoke both in my house, but like just two different, right? And this is for everybody, right? I choose to put this place in my house and hang my clothes this way. And when I walk in the house, I don't take off my shoes. Anna does take off her shoes, right? All these things that you would think, oh, those are petty things. But there's a lot of petty things that at the end of the day, you're like, yo, I just want to be a bachelor again. It was a lot easier then, right? And it is only by the grace of God that you're not like, hey, peace, I'm out. I can't. This is way too hard and uncomfortable and challenging and stretching and asking me to die to self way too much. So number one is, man, you have to invite the Lord into this, right? And I love, I think it's Fulton Sheen who has a book like three to get married. It's right. It's us too, and then it's the Lord. Like he has to be part of it. Honestly, you're just gonna make your life harder for you if he's not. Just, I guess in lamest simple terms.
If I didn't have like my faith in the church and the sacraments, we would not be married still. And that's not because I don't love Paul and want to be married to him. It's because marriage is really hard. but it's more beautiful than hard. Like the companionship is beautiful. And the most beautiful thing is that when you make your vows and say that it's forever, like we've decided that this is forever, no matter what. We want to help each other grow as people. We want to help each other become holier. Like we're not giving up ever. Even if we have seasons where it feels really dry and like we're not getting along, or we know that we're never not going to be married to each other on earth, you know? And that's not what marriage is in the world. Marriage in the world is when this is too hard, I'm leaving. It would be easier to not be married, but I'm more blessed this way for so many reasons. And in like in TOB, sorry, like free, total, faithful, fruitful, like you're giving all of yourself forever, no matter what, no holding back. Like I'm not gonna, if I sit here and I'm like, no, I want this thing that Paul thinks that is really not good for me and our marriage and our family, I'm gonna go do it anyway. If I like deliberately go do that, I'm not giving all of myself to my marriage and my family if I'm gonna just put it aside to one day go do what I want to do. Like we have our moments where we're not holy and make mistakes, but like we're always thinking of the other and giving all of ourselves to the other.
And I think one thing too, and this might be TMI, so stop me if it is. Right, the Lord, like what the church teaches is, right, each time you take part in a conjugal act, each time a married couple have sex, we'll just say, right, you're renewing your vows. And again, part of the healing of my marriage, of us getting married and of our relationship, is that right, growing up Catholic, right, partaking in sex, like being not chaste and not pure. There was always this guilt that was felt, and praise the Lord for that guilt. That was good. And again, hold that topic for another day. But the guilt was good. But to know that as we partake in the conjugal act, like that is actually pleasing to the Lord. That brings the Lord joy. It's just like for me, it was healing, and to just like on our wedding night we will consummate our marriage. Just like this, Lord, this is actually, for years this was sinful and ugly, and I was breaking your heart and others. But this brings you joy. It's just it's a beautiful thing to know and to believe in and live into.
Amen. Oh, for sure. Yeah, and so I guess out of curiosity, so when you guys were over there, your whole life was the mission. Because being over there is part of the mission. And so how would you balance out like your career as a missionary with your marriage? And then once you had kids, because I know from just speaking to others that it's really important to kind of like detach yourself from your work to give your wife or your spouse and your children like the needed attention they have or that they require. So how would you guys do that if basically 24/7 you were a missionary?
Bro, we were horrible at it. And seriously, that was part of the discernment of leaving. It's like, hey, we're never gonna figure this out.
We kept trying different things.
And it got better, but right, literally 11 o'clock, midnight, right, voodoo and all that, deliverance ministry is a huge thing in Haiti. And literally 11 o'clock, midnight, people knocking on our door saying, hey, somebody's having an episode, someone's manifesting, you need to come do some prayer and deliverance over them at like midnight. I'm like, yo, I'm in my PJs, man. What? But right, I was overzealous missionary. I was like, hey, we can't just ignore them, man. I was like, no, go. Like, you have to go, right? It's just like, even though as I'm walking around, I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this. Like, man, look, I'm like, my prayer's not gonna be fruitful, man. I'm abandoning my family to go pray stuff, anyways. But so yeah, we were bad at it. And I think, but things that we did and put in place is that once we realized, and I had an amazing spiritual director, and once we realized, he's like, this is pretty extreme on how you're ignoring your marriage and not being faithful to it when it comes to like giving your marriage the time that it deserves. He's like, so the adjustments you're gonna have to make are going to be pretty extreme. And he's like, as a spiritual director, like, if we're gonna continue this relationship, I'm gonna need you to listen to me. I don't really like to do this, but I'm gonna tell you what to do. And I was like, all right, Father, let's go. And one of the things he said to me, he's like, I need you one weekend a month to leave with your family and get off the property and go somewhere. All right. At this point in Haiti, the American missionaries, even though I am Haitian, but the rule was that the American missionaries couldn't drive like past a certain point, basically out of our diocese for safety reasons and all this. And the Father Lewis, who you guys probably know, was our priest director at that time, but he was living part-time at the base, part-time at a parish that he was at this point. And the priest said go on weekends, and Father Lewis wasn't there on weekends. So literally, we just started leaving. And I'm like, hey, Father, I'm going here. He's like, all right, sweet. Yes, yeah, go. It wasn't until later I found out that he actually didn't appreciate that we were driving, but he never said anything to us. But so we just go get a hotel, and again, the little provider, right? Like the first few times we stayed in Port-au-Prince in this area called Petroville, pretty nice area, nice restaurant. There was Chinese food in some areas. It was pretty cool. And we'd stay there each and every time. People literally be like, "Let me pay for you, or stay here for free." And it's fellow Haitians, right? Just offering to pay for us. And just our community. Sorry, I know we had 50 people showing up this weekend, but you guys got it. We got to go. So like, it's just, I think once you realize hey man, I'm doing things wrong. At times there needs to be some extreme decisions made in order to almost overcompensating for the dumb decisions that really you made in the past.
We realized that obviously we were disserving even our fellow community members if we weren't showing them how important marriage was. Like if we said no to them, it was to put our marriage first. And even if they didn't like hearing the no, or even if the no wasn't easy to give, it was better for us and for them to give the no. And like we couldn't be anyone's all. And like there were times where we would make a sign on our door of our living room, which is where we sat every night, that said like having a date, please don't come in. We would write it in Creole and English. Or just like we had to get really creative. Like there were even times where we would hide when our door got knocked on in order to have alone time. Like so because they could just look in our window because of how our house was. We would just go run to the other side of the house and be like, we can't give anything right now. Like so we're just gonna act like we're napping or something.
I pray that no one in our community is watching this right now. They're all gonna be like, what?
I love it.
Oh my God.
That's so beautiful and powerful right there of how, you have to say no for a greater good, which is in this case your marriage, and put each other as a priority.
I had a real good friend who always said, I'm not saying no to you, I'm just saying yes to my marriage.
Ooh.
Amen. I'm saying yes to my marriage.
Such a quote.
Yeah, and our first vocation is marriage, essentially. Like before we are, missionaries or some accountants or whatever it may be. Like we are first, a spouse, a husband, a wife, and I think that that is our ticket, so to speak, to heaven, is making sure that our marriage is fruitful, and even if that requires sacrificing components of our work, or even our work entirely.
Or friends.
Or
events, as you guys mentioned.
So, yeah.
Awesome. As we kind of have about 5 more minutes or so to our night, I would love to hear Paul and Anna. I know it went by so fast. It's like there's so much more to talk about. But we'd love to hear what is some of your advice to newly married couples or young couples that are trying to live out the faith in their marriage. Like what would be some advice and wisdom that you'd like to share with them?
Don't, the call that the Lord has for you and for your marriage. Do not ever negotiate that. And like once you've decided, hey, this is what's good for my marriage. Like couples, and this is something that we're still working on as well. Like couples need to have date nights. You have to schedule that, and don't let it. Make sure it happens. And as I'm speaking to you, I'm preaching to myself right now because literally I'm failing at this. It was a conversation this week of like, hey, can you write date night in your planner? Make sure you're doing that. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Again, with date nights, right? I get real comfortable asking people to babysit. And my wife was like, we live in a community with a whole bunch of young adults. We live in a missionary community with a whole bunch of young adults who have offered to babysit, and still I feel uncomfortable. So just be okay. Sometimes my wife doesn't even tell me. She's like, hey, so-and-so's babysitting, where we going? I'm like, sweet.
I love it.
don't be afraid to ask for help and to bring other people into it. I know this is a cheesy one that right everyone writes on there and puts in the advice box on your wedding day, but it's real. Like you have to pray together. You have to have a prayer, a rhythm of prayer with your spouse, and you have to. And again, feelings that we have seasons. We have seasons where we do great, and we have seasons where we completely fail at it. And those seasons where we completely fail to have a rhythm of prayer that we're upholding as a married couple, those times marriage is a lot harder. So yeah, be faithful to the mission of your marriage. Don't negotiate for anything. Make sure you're having date nights and ask for help. Invite other people into it, and make sure that you're praying together and for each other as well.
The mission thing that Paul mentioned, just a practical way. When we first got married, someone had us do an exercise on a retreat where we wrote down our family mission statement, and it was like 4 bullet points or something. There's just quick things like we want to like have children and raise them to be faithful Catholics, whatever the things are. And we hung it on our fridge, and we like kept that little paper to remind us of what we feel that God has for us as a mission, for us specifically. That's different than everybody else. That was the general example that I gave, but we had other ones on there like journeying with young adults or whatever the specific things are. And Paul said prayer together, but I would say that prayer separately is crucial to a marriage, because if you only pray as a couple and you don't have your own individual prayer where God can speak to you through what you're going through as a person, because you're still your own person, even though the two become one. Like I'm going to depend on Paul for my happiness and be more dissatisfied with life and not as happy if only Paul is what can make me happy. He's an imperfect person. I can't rely on him for that. Like I can only rely on God for that. So if I don't have a spot for God to speak to me and me to pour my heart out to him, like unfiltered, then it's going to always be a challenge and a struggle to have a happy marriage.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. That's some really good stuff. And so I guess just right before we wrap up, I have kind of a quick question I want to ask you guys, mostly because we're about to be parents in the next few months, is how is the first child and how do you, like, I can only imagine the first few months of having a newborn baby. You've got to be pretty busy. How can you, or what are some ideas you have to make time for your marriage despite the hecticness of having a new person enter in that dynamic?
I guess, are you both working?
Yeah, full time, but we're working remotely, so
Yeah.
we're together at all times.
So yeah, I think that's working remotely, huge gift, right? Take lunch breaks from work, right? Working at home we're all doing it now for the most part, but right, I think working at home sometimes you can go the whole day, or you run upstairs, you grab a bite to eat, and you go right back down to your computer. So like actually saying, nope, I'm taking my 30-minute hour lunch break. It's like, hey babe, what are we having for lunch? And you guys sit down and you have lunch together. As soon as you have kids, the idea of, and you guys might already be there, really as soon as you get married, the idea of having a date only at nighttime or in the evening because it's more romantic and convenient and all that literally has to do. You have to know how to have date breakfasts, date lunches. You have to know how to say, hey kids, we're gonna put a movie on. You guys just watch that for an hour, and mom and dad are gonna have a date in the middle of the living room. And like be cheesy, man. Like seriously, like set blankets on the ground, like have a picnic in your house. Like it's cheesy, but it's fun. So yeah, it's just you have to get creative with your timing. Right. So with any free time you have, make sure you're always praying, but make sure that you have that time with each other too. It's like, hey, baby's down for a nap. As husband or wife, if you want to put the baby down for a nap, the other spouse is preparing a meal to then have a date night, setting the table, putting out candles, whatever it may be. It's even better if it's happening without the other spouse even knowing. It's a surprise. So like, hey, babe, come down. And then it's like table set, candlelight.
Woohoo!
You do that, you'll be pregnant again in no time. So
I'm going to use that one. That's
I
awesome.
think that at first you have to be easy on yourself because you don't know how little sleep you're going to both be getting, you know? You need to just figure out how to get sleep. But once you get a little bit more used to it, like give each other breaks so each other can take care of themselves. Don't ever deny anyone offering help, ever. Like if they're offering, they want to help you. And even if like maybe it's hard for you to have your mom around. Who cares? Like, your mom can fold your laundry and then you can feed the baby. You know, like, if you have a mama and maybe it's an aunt, a friend, whoever, like, don't not accept the help.
Yeah. We have literally had people come to our house and play with our kids outside as we in the house. And as we fold laundry and mop and sweep and all that. Again, just don't be afraid.
Yeah.
If I'm ever in Miami, like, and you guys want to babysit, just hit us. We'll come babysit. Like, seriously, it's a gift that couples need to offer more to each other. I think. Like, hey, give me your kids. I have 4, so I get scared when a couple says that, especially if they have 5 or 6 themselves. It's a gift that we should offer to each other, and almost like living in community too. You guys have a Catholic community. I would even go as far as saying, and not being prideful, but like, it's an expectation. Like, we live in community. We share all things in common, right? That's what it says in Acts of the Apostles.
Yeah.
Share all things in common, including my kids and the amount of time that a community member spends with them, so that we can have a break. So yeah, always ask for help.
All right. That's a good one. Always ask for help.
Yes. Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys. We are going to close out our night. Paul and Anna, thank you for your yes to be so vulnerable to share tonight. And especially, you have so much wisdom that I feel like we could have had like 4 different talks about like different areas. But thank you, because it shows just your openness to Lord and how he's worked tremendous things in each one of you and through your marriage. And we're so grateful for you to share the fruit of that with us tonight, because it will make a difference in many of our lives. So thank you for your yes, especially thank you for your yes to your vocation to one another. Your marriage is very fruitful with your beautiful 4 kids, but also spiritually in the many ways that God has worked through you for others. So we're grateful for your yes tonight. And Evan and Maria, thank you for being with us too. Amazing to co-host with you guys. And we just thank everyone for joining us online. We hope that this is a video that has inspired you and that you share it with others, especially married couples that might take this wisdom and apply it to their marriage. So thank you for joining us. And this is the end of our night. So God bless you all. And we look forward to next time. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.